Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. How cocky are you, Browns fans? Sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for. The NFL has announced the first Thursday night game will be Green Bay at Chicago, and the first Sunday night game will have New England hosting somebody. We already know who's on their home schedule, and we pretty much know they won't be scheduled against their division foes, Miami, Buffalo, and the New York Jets. They don't play either the AFC or NFC West, which just about leaves Dallas, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and your Cleveland Browns. Sorry, I don't like it. I don't like the matchup. Too much pressure for Freddie Kitchens in his first game as a coach, and too much on Baker Mayfield. I know you have to play them sometime, but I'd rather have them open at home. Let's remember who we are. For 2 years before last year, the Browns were 1-31, and then last year they rose up to 7-8-1. I think the Browns are going to compete this year, but I'd like it to get done with baby steps, at least on opening day. Jim Ingraham is here. More sports, and Les Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Monday night. It's a brand new week. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, and of course seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Jim Ingraham is here. We're going to talk baseball, football, anything that's on your mind. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, 216-575-0403 is the number to call. If you want to email us, you can do that by sending it to realleslevine@gmail.com. Jim Ingraham here. That means it's close to baseball season. Pretty close anyway.
Yeah, probably closer than the Indians were hoping.
Would like to be.
Half the team is hurt.
A lot of teams can't wait for opening day. This is one team that should.
Yeah.
Right?
Jeez, it's like every game, every day there's another guy hurt.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Well, they have so much depth. What the heck?
Yeah, fortunately.
Yeah.
They can handle the injuries.
All right, so what's it going to be? Lineup-wise? Bringing up other players? What?
Well, I think we kind of know who's going to be in the lineup. We
well,
don't
that's the
really
scary
know
part.
What order they're going to hit. But hey, Kluber's pitching, so that's something, right?
Yes, except I heard him say yesterday that it doesn't matter who we have on the field. Really? I think it does.
Well, their lineup indicates that.
Yeah. All right, so you came up with a stat that when I thought about it, it's absolutely correct, but it's sort of mind-boggling. The Indians just played in October against the Astros in the division series or in the ALDS. Tell me about that in regards to this year.
Nobody in that last game against Houston, nobody that was in the starting lineup will be in the starting lineup on Thursday. So the last game of last year and the first game of this year will have 9 completely different guys in the lineup, which is almost impossible when you think about it.
Well, it's impossible for good teams, I would think.
You would think, yes.
Yeah. But the injuries come into play.
Yeah.
What do you hear about Ramirez?
I'm not sure if there's anything new today. I mean, he's going to Minnesota, so that,
right.
If he's going to go on the injured list, he probably will just stay with the team, I suppose, and work out. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's real serious, which is fortunate for them because that kind of injury, guys have had broken bones in their legs and missed a long time.
I'll tell you what's serious: the bottom 5 of the order.
Yeah, it is. It's. Are you counting or not counting Max Moroff?
I've never counted on him, to be honest with you. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at a projected starting lineup, and we'll see what it is. It's one for the ages. Leonys Martin is starting, probably the opening day center fielder. This is just our own projection here. Jake Bauers batting second, Carlos Santana, Hanley Ramirez, Tyler Naquin, and Brad Miller will play second base, Roberto Perez, Max Moroff, that's your guy, and Eric Stamets will be the shortstop. Wow.
You take out Bauers and Santana, and how many home runs do you think the other 7 guys hit last year in the major leagues?
In the major leagues?
Like single digits total.
Yeah, it won't be over 10. We could check that out, but it won't be over 10.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do if you're Terry Francona? What is your choice? I feel bad for all the guys they signed, all these guys they signed in minor league contracts, and it's their chance to play, and they figure, okay, this guy got hurt or whatever, and they still don't get a chance to play. They still bring in a guy at the last minute.
Yeah. I mean, when you're adding guys, you're inviting them to a major league camp that no longer exists.
Right.
I mean, they're on their way to Minnesota. I don't remember this many injuries, especially late like yesterday with Ramirez, when you're virtually the bags are packed and you're getting ready to leave and he gets hurt.
And supposedly, you have a situation with Luplow, who was having a terrible spring. He made the team.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well,
nepotism?
I mean, a bunch of guys left and a bunch of other guys got hurt, and now it's almost like he's asking for volunteers.
It's unbelievable. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Browns announced today that they're going to share practice facilities. They're going to go to Indianapolis and scrimmage against them before the season starts. You like that idea?
I guess most teams do that, right? Or a lot of teams.
Yeah, a lot of teams do that.
That's just they don't want to beat each other up, I guess,
Right.
is the reasoning behind that. What I want to know is the NFL made the announcement yet about when they're going to make their announcement on the schedule for each team?
On the announcement for the announcement?
Yeah, when they announce they're going to make an announcement.
Well, they did announce that, as I mentioned in the opening, that Green Bay is going to go to the Chicago Bears. Traditional teams will play in that one, and that'll be in the first Thursday night game. And then the Sunday night game, New England will host somebody, and my guess it could be Cleveland. You like that idea or not?
No, I mean the Browns. Yeah, I mean they're like the hot team, or the one that most is drawing the most interest, or one of the teams that draw the most interest in the offseason. So that would make sense. I mean Brady and Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham and no Gronk. So.
Yeah. You think Gronk's going to be a Hall of Famer?
Oh, he should be. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 years.
Yeah. Nobody looked like that who played tight end and did the things he did. Even though it's pretty amazing when you think about it. He's going to be a first ballot guy. I mean, it seemed like he was constantly hurt, but when he played, nobody could stop him.
Yeah, it's interesting. He was a tough guy, fun guy to watch, right? I mean, it's hard to hate him.
Yeah. He's just kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. Of course, if we were all built like that and looked like that,
yeah, you could be happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
I haven't talked to you since the Beckham deal. What do you think?
Well, I like it. I mean, it's it seems like they got him for not next to nothing, but not a lot to get a guy of that caliber.
Right.
And their passing game now it really looks pretty formidable, and especially with Mayfield, who seems to be able to get the most out of every receiver they throw out there.
Right.
And now the guys they're going to have out there this year could really be. I mean, it should be a kind of a high octane attack.
You worried about a sophomore jinx with Baker?
Not really. I mean, he just seems like he plays. He doesn't play. He didn't play like a rookie last year. He always seems like he's mentally ahead of everything, and I think he's drawn the right difference between being colorful and being serious about your job. And
it's not Johnny Manziel.
No, absolutely not. Which is good news for everybody.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Browns in the spotlight. Let me ask you this: you're a historian of the Cleveland Indians. What do you think of when you think of the late 30s and 40s? Anything come to mind with the Indians?
Late 30s and 40s.
Yeah, the Crybabies.
Oh yeah, Oscar Vitt.
And they had the big meeting, and I believe they asked Lou Boudreaux to stay out of the meeting.
Yeah, I think
because they were gonna push for him to be manager, and they didn't want him in there. Yeah. Anyway, Scott Longard, who was a fine writer and also a historian of the Indians, has come up with a book called "Bad Boys, Bad Times." It highlights the Indians from 1937 to 1941, and as I mentioned, the Crybabies. Raleigh Hemsley was a catcher. He was an alcoholic. How about that? I don't know if that helped him or hurt him.
Isn't the manager supposed to be the alcoholic in Hollywood movies?
Perhaps. It's available on Amazon.com. You can also visit ScottLongard.com for upcoming book signings. He's written some great books about the odd teams, and he wrote a great one about the 1920 Indians team that won the championship. But this features the Crybabies, the historical team, and Bob Feller's no-hitter on opening day. And Bob, I know you were close to Bob. You sat right in front of him in the press box. Did he ever tell you about the opening day no-hitter, how he said, Luke Appling, I'm tired of throwing pitches that are fouled off, I'll just walk them?
Yeah, he did that. Yeah,
He did. That surprised me that he wouldn't have said, come on, Raleigh, hit the ball. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're Bob Feller, you can kind of call your shots.
You can dictate it. Anyway, Feller's no-hitter, the fact that he enlisted in the Navy as soon as Pearl Harbor was bombed, and it's a great story. And I know one of your favorite stories is that they went NBC Radio announced actually covered his high school
they covered
graduation.
Live his high school graduation. Could you imagine doing that now? Even for LeBron, they would, okay.
Bob Feller, and then everybody leaves.
You hear the announcer say, he's only 10 people away before the announcement.
We'll get back.
I wonder, did they just cut away after he got his diploma?
No, just before they take a break and set it up. When we get back, we'll have Bob Feller's announcement.
Yeah, I mean, how'd you like the guy that was behind Bob Feller in that line?
Yeah.
Everyone's turning their radios off.
I wonder if people, have you gone to any high school graduations and they say no cheering when when your son or daughter's name is called, and immediately they start cheering, right? And you don't hear the next person.
I hadn't thought about it until you guys announced that.
Right.
Now we're going to cheer.
Exactly. Anyway, Bad Boys, Bad Times, 1937 to 1941, the Cleveland Indians, and it's on Amazon.com and Barnes & Nobles, and of course Scott Longert has written it, and you know it's a good one if he has done that. We'll come back in a moment. More sports, and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's check out birthdays for today. 1947, Joy Stick, who was born in this state. Great video game player.
Yeah.
Avery Johnson, Tom Glavine, Miss Travis Fryman seen on the left, Danica Patrick and Kyle Lowry. Interesting on Travis Fryman, one of the real underrated players. He was just a good, solid player.
Yeah, he really was. He was like a real professional adult baseball player.
Right.
in every sense.
Right. Well, we mentioned earlier the Browns in the spotlight, maybe opening up against the New England Patriots. That's not official. It's just some word that's going on. And I say I don't like it. It's a tough game for Freddie Kitchens normally, but this being his first one and in the spotlight. How did Freddie Kitchens become the associate head coach of the Cleveland Browns?
The associate head coach?
Yeah, well, I mean, when he came here, they made him the associate.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't seem like there was any.
I think you have to, if you bring a coach from another team, you have to give him like another title.
Well, that's probably it, because here's his resume, as you see right here. Starting back in 2006, he was a tight end coach for the Cowboys, then the Cardinals, quarterback coach for the Cardinals, running backs coach for the Cardinals, and then you're probably right. That's what they did to get him here in 18. Associate head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and then offensive coordinator. When that
by the way, they did need someone to associate with the head coach when he was doing that.
what does that mean? They go, let's associate and get a beer.
Well, no, I don't think many people wanted to associate with the coach, but somebody had to, so Freddie got.
How surprised were you when it was Freddie Kitchens?
Well, a little bit in that he had never done this before, and this was like a really important hire. And I think if they hadn't gotten rid of, if he hadn't become the play caller at midseason and did what he did, I don't think he would have gotten
Probably
it.
not. Probably not.
But it's hard to argue what I mean. It wasn't just a little bit better when they made those changes. It was a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think you look at that and say, well, he has to have something to say with that, and I think they figured, why not?
Well, in the case of John Dorsey, I mean, so far everything's gone Dorsey's way. He hasn't, quote, made a mistake yet. And now he's going to turn it over to Freddie Kitchens. He must have supreme confidence in this guy, or he doesn't necessarily come off as the prototypical head coach. But if John Dorsey, I'm still under the theory that if John Dorsey says it's okay, then it's okay.
I agree. I mean, everything he's done since he's came here is worked. It seems, and I think he's earned, he's earned the trust of the fans and the media and everybody. I mean, you look at what he's done and say, well, this guy clearly knows what he's doing, and so let's see how this works. A lot of coaches in the NFL, I think, first-time head coaches were that kind of a guy. Like I don't think Blanton Collier was looked at as he was the hot assistant at the time he took over for Paul Brown,
or you thought he would just be an assistant coach forever.
Yeah, and John Madden was very young when he took over, and I think there's examples of guys who've risen to the head coaching job from unlikely paths, and it's worked.
Well,
so.
it's clear there's not one way to do it.
Right, yeah. It's and there's not one way to coach, and and you really, with most of these guys, you don't know until they become the coach and you see the results of.
I just think him calling the plays, and I know that's why he got to where he is right now. I think you need to be a coach of the whole thing, and to me, game situations. You want to score and go for two. You want to whatever you want to do. You want to sit on the ball till halftime. I just think that's tough to do when you've got others. You got a guy injured, and the doctors are telling you he can play or he can't play. Then who are you going to put in to replace the guy?
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of coaches doing those two jobs. In fact, I would argue there's only about 3 or 4 guys that even have earned that right. I mean, and those have to be like experienced guys.
Right. It's not your first It's not your first job.
Yeah. Especially your first job when you're just trying to learn how to be a head coach, and now you got to call the plays too.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Are you surprised by the attention the Browns are getting nationally?
No, because they're doing high-profile things. The Odell Beckham, obviously, that's a huge national story. A, that he was traded, and B, that it was to the Browns. And, of course, Baker Mayfield's sensational rookie year made him a high-profile guy. And just the overnight turnaround that John Dorsey's almost like the second or third biggest star on this team now when you think about it.
They had the thing over the weekend on radio with talking about the ESPN guys, the insiders. I don't know how much room there is for how many insiders can you get in a room. That I don't know. But to hear that this is Cleveland they're talking about, and they said, all right, besides Cleveland, push them over here, who had the best free agency and the best offseason so far?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm saying, wait a minute, they just said, forget Cleveland, that's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
When does that happen?
Yeah, well, it kind of invalidates the whole discussion.
Right.
Except for the guy, except for the team that
answers the question.
That answers this question, who's next?
Right.
That's when you know
We're
there's
number
many,
two.
That's when you know there's too many analyst shows in the offseason.
No question about it. Yeah, we want to know who's number 2. 216-575-0403. Freddie Kitchens will take over. So while the Browns are in the spotlight, the Indians may be fading in the spotlight. Did you hear, and we'll talk about that when we get back, did you hear that Paul Dolan was talking to Zach Meisel of The Athletic, and he asked about Lindor. What do you say to the fans who realize that you're not going to have him? And he said, just enjoy the 3 years you've got with him. I know what Paul meant by that, but that was not worded correctly.
I agree with that. There was a way to talk around that rather than being just almost confrontationally blunt, let's put it.
Right.
There's no reason to say. But, I mean, this is not a shock. I mean,
No.
From the day Lindor became a star, the clock was ticking, and we all know that he's going to be leaving. So it's not like this comes out of the blue that he may not stay with the Indians after he becomes a free agent.
We assumed that he was going to be a New York Yankee. Now the only question is which of the other couple of teams will he go to?
Yeah, the only thing that could possibly happen is it almost seems like now players, given what's happened the last couple of years, they're almost shying away from free agency. I mean, they want to. If you offer them any kind of extension, they'll sign it just to avoid the free agent.
I heard somebody talk about Mike Trout, and they said, well, he should have waited until he could get offers in 2 years from New York and Boston. And I have a theory on that.
Okay.
And that is, as soon as the negotiation gets to the point where the team says, and we will offer you 4. As soon as the word 4 is the first word out of the box, you just say, thank you very much, where do I sign? Whether it's 401 or 499.
Yeah, I don't need to hear any other numbers.
No, 4 is good. 3 is not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees like pounding the table, we would have given him 410 easy. I can't believe he signed
we're walking away at 410. That's way too much. 409 that's okay. That's a good formula.
Yeah.
216-575-0403. We'll talk more about that. Sports Illustrated had an article today on their website saying that the Cleveland fans should actually boycott the Indians based on what they are doing.
Well, I mean, this is. I don't think this is like big news or anything. It would be one thing if he's basically telling the fans, yes, Linder's going to leave, and the Indians hadn't been in the playoffs in 20 years.
Right.
But I mean, as long as they're in the playoffs every year, in my opinion, that's all you can ask from an owner. You get to the playoffs every year.
Let's take a break. We'll come on back. We'll look at key additions and key losses. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Check it out. Catch the excitement of harness racing Monday through Wednesday and Saturday evenings. Post time 6 p.m. Open early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We have a phone number for the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and that is new. You'll want to mark that down, and we'll get it to you. There you go, 216. You see the rest of it there, 200-6650. That's the number for the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can follow us on Facebook. Facebook.com is the place to go with new content posted each and every day. You respond to that. We'll get your picture. We'll get your opinions on right here on More Sports and Less Levine, which is seen exclusively right here on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Nature's Stone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Nature's Stone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Nature's Stone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home.
Get Nature's Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature's Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a Hey, How Come Quickie. Jim, how come when the Indians are introduced on opening day, several of them will say to each other, nice to meet you? There's
probably some that'll be introduced that aren't even on the team yet.
Yeah, right. Normally on opening day they wear those cream color uniforms without names on the back.
Yeah.
This is not a good year to do that.
You should like carry a big sign with your name on it when you're being introduced. Right. They all could stand on the the third base line.
Right. Let's open mic for this guy here, whatever his number and name is. That article in Sports Illustrated says it's looking for fan bases that should boycott their teams. Tristan Young is the writer of this. He says he's highlighting or lowlighting the big moves. He says the Indians responded to their losses of Andrew Miller and Cody Allen. They responded by acquiring outfielders Jake Bowers and Jordan Luplow, who have a combined 584 plate appearances between them, and they signed 37-year-old Oliver Perez. And also, of course, they got Carlos Santana back. So this is new. Tyler Clippard, along with Carlos Gonzalez, Jake Bowers, Hanley Ramirez, Carlos Santana, and Kevin Plawicki. Where do we buy tickets? Anybody have any idea? Are good seats still available?
Yeah, good players are not, but good tickets are.
Well, what do you do if you're the Indians? I mean, you made the decision. Yeah. To me, what hurt the most to me was, and I understand exactly what they're doing or what they need to do, but the loss of Brantley bothered me more than anybody.
Yeah, he didn't get like a monstrous contract.
No, he got $16 million, which is close to what he got here.
And I would agree with that, because that's a big loss when you figure you could have had him for 2 years and at a pretty reasonable price.
Right.
And he was, you put him in the lineup, and then you've got something close to a really good lineup again.
Well, you got some names. You didn't have it on this projected lineup because some of those guys aren't here yet, but Hanley Ramirez, in theory, is a good move, and I think that Gonzalez is a good move also. But the question is, how do they last so long without other teams who needed offense?
Yeah.
Why are they out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason those guys were available, and the Indians are hoping they don't find out what it is. But yeah, I mean, Hanley. I mean, there's no risk in that move other than if you can't do it, you're going to have to go look for another guy to do that.
Right.
But and Gonzalez has had a really nice career. He hasn't been too good the last couple of years, but the bar's not real high in the outfield right now as far as.
No, but he's still a good defensive player. We assume.
Be, yeah.
The Coors Field numbers probably are questionable about what. I mean, the splits really are legit. Those are legitimate split numbers that show you there is a difference between playing at home there and on the road.
Yeah, and sometimes you do hit on guys like this. Every once in a while you pick up a guy that kind of people don't get that excited about, and then come August or September, all of a sudden you're glad that they did pick him up. So I'm not saying he'll be a guy like that, but you never know.
All right, help me out on this one. Over the last 10 years, Casey Blake was my whipping guy, and then Lonnie Chisenhall. I have a lot of choices this year. You have any for me?
Well, you've got kind of a high standard because you're not talking about just guys. You're talking about guys who are supposed to be guys
and guys who were here 6 or 7 years. Guys.
Yeah. Well, maybe Tyler Naquin could be drifting.
That's my thought, because I still haven't forgiven him for Game 6 of the World Series.
Yeah, that was a grievous error.
And egregious, no question about that. So the Indians franchise, according to Forbes, is in the billion range, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure the exact figure.
Okay, but I think most of the teams are at least a billion, many more for some other teams. But Paul Dolan's still saying they're not making money, or they're losing money, for putting a different word about it. What are you supposed to believe? The fact that they don't sell enough tickets to make money, or that when they cash in and sell the franchise, that's when the money comes their way?
Well, I think the latter of those two. I mean, if and when they do sell it, that's where they make their profit.
Right. Do you believe when you say they're not making money on a day-to-day operating basis? Do you believe that?
I think it's possible, yeah. But my answer to that would be, well, why don't you just sell the team? I mean, you can't use that as an excuse for not spending and then continue to own the team. I mean, it's at some point there's going to be a lull in the feeder system that they've had as far as minor leaguers and making astute free agent signings. And right now they cannot afford to not make the playoffs, because then what the financial decisions the front office is making, they're going to have to answer for that, because as long as they're still making the playoffs every year, they can present themselves as they are right now. And to me, I'm okay with that because they're making the playoffs every year. I mean, what more do you want? Only one team can win the World Series.
You have almost a perfect storm. You have terrible teams in the division, and then you have the best one or two starting pitching staffs in all of baseball.
Yeah.
So they're not wrong when they push that part of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If they were in any other division where they wouldn't win 3 and probably 4 divisions in a row, championships in a row, this wouldn't this policy wouldn't fly because you're not making the playoffs.
Right.
But they are, and that's just where we are right now.
I would go one step further as a fan or media member, then go out and beat the heck out of those teams in that division and go get yourself the best record in the league, and then you get to host the playoffs.
Well,
it doesn't matter who you beat.
What if, for example, in 2016 with all those injuries in the postseason, no one thought they'd get to the World Series,
right?
Much less get to extra innings in Game 7. But what if everything with what they have falls into place this year and they do get to the World Series or win the World Series? Does that change how anybody looks at ownership then?
What do you think?
No,
I think they're taxed with it forever.
I think the mentality with the fans, and they can have whatever thoughts they have about this, but I think right now the Dolans have always had this: you're cheap, you won't pay for good players and that kind of reputation, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. Even I think if they win the World Series, it might subside slightly, but I just think that's the mentality now of the fan
You don't think
base.
winning a World Series this year, however, somehow if they can do that doesn't buy them whatever credit they need?
It should, yeah, but I wonder. I mean, it's and the comments he made today, that just kind of inflames the whole thing, unnecessarily so, because like I said, they're not doing anything different than they've been doing virtually since they bought the team. And it's to their credit, I would argue, that they've gotten to the playoffs, 4 of the last 7 years.
4 of the last 6, I think.
4 of the last 6 and the last 3 in a row. I mean, what more do you want out of your team? Yeah, I mean, they got the best record in the American League for the last 6 years or whatever it is. So, I can understand why everyone's upset where he's just so brazen about, or even cavalier about the potential losing Lindor, but you're in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, and I don't think he meant it the way it came out.
Probably not, but it's that's unfortunate because just the way he worded it was not a good way to do it.
As we say in politics, should he walk it back?
Yeah, he should walk it back to the barn
and close the door quickly.
Close the door and try again next week.
Yeah. Whatever happened to let's go to the ballpark and have a nice time watching an enjoyable Major League Baseball game? I mean, now every win in April has something to do with October, and I don't think that's fair either.
No. I just think the way our culture is now with the instantaneousness of Twitter, and it's just 24/7 rabble-rousing by everybody,
right.
and I think that leads to a lack of patience by everyone.
Yeah, or an overreaction.
An overreaction, yeah. I mean, it's made for that, and that's where we are now. This is what the culture we live in, and you've just got to deal with it.
All right, as if it wasn't bad enough with Lindor being injured, and also Jason Kipnis, now Jose Ramirez in one of the last games for spring training suffers a knee. Now they're calling it a knee contusion. No word yet as to how long he will be out. And we'll take a break. We'll come on back in a moment. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history. March 25th, 1961, Ohio State can't defend its basketball title, losing to Cincinnati 70-65 in overtime. Cincinnati would repeat the following year. Of course, in 1960, Ohio State won, beating California for their first and only NCAA championship. Have you been watching the basketball games?
Sporadically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched
Tennessee was interesting. 25 points down, and they win in overtime.
Yeah, yeah.
Or 25 points up, rather.
There hasn't been a lot of, like, really...
No buzzer beaters?
Yeah, yeah. There hasn't been a lot of really dramatic finishes like there frequently
Well, Duke almost got beat yesterday. Jim Ingraham is with us. Jose Ramirez suffered that knee contusion. Let's take a look at our projected starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians. Leonis Martin in center field, Jake Bowers in left, Carlos Santana at first, Hanley Ramirez cleanup at DH, Tyler Naquin. I can't stand that Tyler Naquin, Jim. Oh, I'm sorry, not too early.
Let him play a game.
Too early. Brad Miller, second baseman, just released by the Dodgers. Berto Perez, all the way up to seventh. I think that tells you all you need to know about the rest of the lineup. Max Moroff, third base, and Eric Stamets at shortstop.
Perez didn't get to double figures in RBIs last year until September, and that's the starting catcher this year.
Well, you said he's the starting catcher, and then you're talking about how he was hitting. Let's make up your mind. Is he a bad starting catcher or a bad hitter?
He's a good backup catcher, I think, is the best you could go with him.
Somebody told me, and he will remain nameless, that there was a situation when he came up with runners on first and second and one out. He was told not to swing or not to hit the ball because it'll be a double play. Strikeouts would be better.
They had to tell him that?
Yes.
Chances of that happening anyway, where I would say pretty high.
Oh, you don't have to tell him? Yeah. Well, however, I did some research. Brian in the back room did some research. All of these teams that we think about, these great Indians teams in the 90s and getting into the postseason, all had guys in their opening day lineup that you'd look at and say, how's that possible? Let's go back to 95. Of course, that's the Murderers Row had they won that. Kenny Lofton, Omar Vizquel batted second. Carlos Baerga was the second baseman. And then you had Jim Thome at third base, and Tony Pena was the actual catcher. I don't remember. It seems to me that Alomar must have been injured.
Yeah, he was injured a lot that year. I think he was coming off knee surgeries in the previous year.
All right, then we move on. We go to the 1997, the one we think of as coming that close. I thought of that run. I thought this lineup was not the best of all of them. Marquise Grissom, of course, was the center fielder instead of Lofton. And then you had Matt Williams, David Justice, Manny Ramirez. Franco moved over to second base on that. Kevin Mitchell was the DH, and Sandy Alomar was the catcher.
Julio was like 40 years old then playing second base.
Easily.
Yeah.
All right, now we go to 2007. Eric Wedge was the manager. Look at this. Trot Nixon was the right fielder. This is the team that Terry Francona's Red Sox won against. Casey Blake batted fifth in that lineup. David DeLucci. How about Josh Barfield and Andy Marte?
I think they brought Struble up that year, and he took over for Josh Barfield halfway through the year.
So I guess major league teams go through this. This is their World Series team from 2016. Opening day, Rajai Davis got the start, and Mike Napoli was the first baseman that day. And how about this? The bottom three: Marlon Byrd, Juan Uribe, and Colin Cowgill.
All I'll say about that is they haven't been to the World Series since they got rid of Colin Cowgill. So, for what it's worth.
Yeah, for what it's worth is not much. If we only had Cowgill on this team, I wouldn't have to pick on Naquin.
We need more Cowgill. Isn't that the phrase we should use?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that's just the way it is. Some of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what started me thinking about it is can you believe 25 years at Jacobs Field, Progressive Field? Hard to believe.
Yeah, it is hard to believe.
Started in '94. starting third baseman on opening day in Cleveland that day was Mark Lewis.
Well, that was because Randy Johnson pitched, and they didn't want Tomey to have to stand in against Randy Johnson.
Stand in as opposed to bat?
Or bail out.
Yeah. Mark Lewis is an interesting character. I think he had 12 years in the big leagues, mostly because he was a first-round pick by the Indians.
Yeah, and he was a shortstop. And I remember when they drafted him, they brought him in, and he was a high school player from Hamilton, Ohio. Right. They brought him to the ballpark after they signed him, and he looked like he was in sixth grade. I mean, he was young, but he looked younger than his years.
Right.
and he never really developed into much more than a
but
utility
don't guys
guy.
like, if he wasn't the first-round pick by the Indians,
yeah.
Does he last 12 years? I think that's
that
sticks with him.
I mean, that's what happens. You know, the high picks, they have more patience with those guys because they have more money invested in them. Yeah, if he'd have been a 10th or 20th round pick, he'd have been gone in a year or two.
Yeah. All right, that all being said, because I think we agree that the pitching staff is almost as good as you can get in Major League Baseball these days, because you can't afford to spend. Well, it's almost like Lee and Sabathia after their Cy Young Award winning years. You didn't have a chance to keep them, but now you've got. This is a starting rotation that is the envy of anybody in baseball.
Yeah, and it is, and you could. I mean, Shane Bieber would be the number 1 or 2 starter on a lot of teams in the big leagues, and the other 3 guys in between him and Kluber would be number ones on probably over half of the teams. So you know that bodes well for the regular season. I mean, they'll be in every game, but when you get to the postseason, you know, then you're going down to 4 and sometimes 3 starters, and then you know you can't have a bad game.
At the same time that the Indians were not signing people, they did sign Salazar. And it seems to be the same situation with him.
Yeah. I mean, to me, they're getting to be patient to a fault on that. I mean, I think he signed for, was it $4 million? I think?
Yes.
And, you know, is he ever going to – I mean, this is like 3 years in a row now. He spent more time on the disabled list than off the disabled list.
He must be really good that they would do that.
Well, if you think back to that first half of 2015 when he made the All-Star team, I think it was
the
I think he was leading the league in strikeouts per 9 innings. I mean, nobody could touch him. And, you know, that's hard to get out of your mind if you're a general manager, you know. And, you know, it costs some money to keep waiting on that. But, you know, I think he's 29 now, so – you know, when he comes back.
It seems like he's been here a lot longer. He should be older than 29.
Yeah.
And maybe.
Well, his arm's probably 49.
Right.
By the way. So, yeah, I mean, it's. I would say this has to be the last year. If he doesn't make some kind of an impact this year, it might be time to just move on.
All right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. And Bud Shaw will be here tomorrow night. Dennis Maniloff on Thursday. I don't know about Wednesday. Somebody will be walking by, and we will drag him in. Sokolowski's University Inn. As far as I'm concerned, there's no place better than that. You think the Indians' pitching staff is good? That's how good I think about the staff at Sokolowski's University Inn. The winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 in the country get it each and every year. It's the Heisman Trophy of food establishments. Established in 1923. Makes it Cleveland's oldest family-owned and operated restaurant. It's Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn, open 11 to 3, Monday through Friday, and Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. Jim Ingraham and I return in a moment. More sports and Les Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
Concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Nature Stone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Nature Stone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Let's take a look at this date in Les history. March 25th, 1961, Les encouraged junior high school classmates to support its baseball team. The fans would have their own cheering section labeled "More Supports" and Les Levine. Is that okay?
Yeah, that was. That's pretty good.
We had one the other day where I got injured in a game, and the rest of my teammates sent me a get well card wishing me well by a vote of 5-4 with one abstention. Baseball opening day coming up. Although this season's a long time going here with the Seattle series against Oakland.
Yeah.
Got an insurmountable 2-0 lead.
And those two games were played in virtual seclusion as far as this country. I mean, what did it start, like at 3 in the morning or something? And then, Ichiro retires, which is a huge story, and you don't even know about it for 3 days later.
Ichiro actually visited the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown probably 8 or 9 times.
Yeah, he's a big baseball fan. I think the year he broke George Sisler's record, I think, for hits in a game, he actually went to George Sisler's grave, wherever that is. And
before or after?
After he did it, I think, and he just went out there, and he's really a student of the game.
Wow! Opening day coming up a week from tonight for the Indians, although they'll open up Thursday in Minnesota, but at Progressive Field it'll be a 4:00 start on Monday. We asked our Facebook readers, followers, what's your favorite opening day memory? Wayne Richard Lyons goes ahead and says the snowblowers in the outfield before the game started. 30 degrees or something. My wife and I managed to make it for a few innings, and we said if the Browns come out, we'll stay. If not, we're gone. So we left. Len Gold says, I took my kids to their first opening date in the old Cleveland Stadium, 1992. Boston Red Sox, we lost in 19 innings on that one. By the way, if the Indians would lose the opener and win 10 in a row, people would still get upset about that.
The game after that, I think it was Kurt Young pitched a no-hitter and lost. The Indians beat him.
Here we go, Carl Brandstutter. The year Frank Robinson became player manager of the Indians, hit his home run in his first at-bat. That was in 1975. Carmen Tolino says, the opening day of the Jake, after sitting in Municipal Stadium behind poles a mile away from the action, I just stood there in awe of that beautiful ballpark. Wayne Kirby got the base hit and the victory in extra innings. And then Dennis Davis says, Super Joe Charbonneau's rookie season opener, 1980 or 81? Which one was that? 80 or 81?
81, I think.
Doug, I can't pronounce his name. Opening day 71. Skipped school. We hopped into my brother's Ford Falcon, drove down to the Municipal Stadium from Ashtabula. Got to see Gomer Hodge hit a pinch hit single in the bottom of the ninth to drive in the winning run against the Red Sox. I think I saw you at that game, Les. I doubt that. Gomer Hodge got 4 hits in a row and said he was hitting 4,000.
The good old days.
Well, that could be some of the new stats they have now with analytics.
Yeah, you could almost throw any number out. That would be a good game show. You throw a number out, and you have to find the analytic stat that it is attached to.
I still find myself, when I hear somebody give a stat like that, I just say, so is that good or bad?
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these stats, you don't have any frame of reference.
Right.
And
I said that about when Jacobs Field opened, now Progressive Field, that you didn't have, when the games took place, you didn't have anything to compare it to. For example, with the Kenny Lofton great catch in center field by the bullpen. Mm-hmm. That was a great catch, and he had his leg up on the wall. You had nothing to relate that to because you hadn't seen enough games or enough plays to know how good that really was.
In that ballpark?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew instantly it was one of the greatest catches I ever saw.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you have to, in that particular case, that you just don't see that kind of stuff, So I thought that was maybe still the best catch ever in Jacobs.
How about the catch? Was it Austin Jackson in Boston?
Austin Jackson. Remember Brad Cummins in Baltimore? Yeah. Where he just totally flipped over the outside fence.
There was a table back there, too, that I think he crashed into.
Yeah, Austin Jackson, that was because he
unbelievable.
Really jumped.
What was unbelievable is that they actually had a camera there that you could see at the incident went over the wall.
And that he held the ball all the way through the catch, which was phenomenal.
Yeah. So what's your favorite All-Star or opening day memory?
Probably the opening of Jacobs Field. I mean, right. I remember. I don't think there's ever in the history of baseball been a franchise more desperate for a new ballpark than that team was. I mean, when you went from the old place to the new place, it was like, I remember walking in there the first day thinking, I can't believe this is actually happening.
Right.
I mean, this place is like gorgeous, and what we came from to this. It was
and the team that they had.
the team was terrific. Yeah, that helped too. And then the other one for me would be, remember the snow out where they had to move the whole series to Milwaukee? You don't see a lot of that. You go to Milwaukee.
Doesn't happen every day.
People are walking by wonder, who are these guys use the stadium? There's like almost, there weren't a lot of people there. And it was.
Well, they used Milwaukee for the scenes in Major League, so they figured why not
a different stadium. But yeah, it was just a totally disorienting 3 games.
I think they made all tickets $10 for that.
Something like that, yeah.
Sticks in my memory.
Yeah, that was a very strange.
How about when Hargrove came back as manager of Seattle? Was he Seattle or Baltimore?
Seattle. That was
Seattle.
when that was the game that they moved to Milwaukee. The series that they moved to Milwaukee.
Oh, right.
Because they had to do it because that was Seattle's only trip to Cleveland.
Right.
You know, another brilliant scheduling thing.
And Grover comes in to complain, knowing that he wants the game called at that point.
Yeah.
Because they had the lead after 5 innings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good managing.
No. They booed him just like they did when he was the Indians manager.
Yeah. But that was a crazy one. And the Frank Robinson one, historically, is maybe the, right up there with Bob Feller's opening day no hitter.
Was Charlie Manuel your favorite guy to cover, manager to cover?
Charlie was the greatest storyteller in the history of baseball. Somebody from the Hall of Fame needs to go to him and
sit him down
and just start telling him stories. I mean, he told a story that is just legendary about when he was coaching the Pacific Coast League, and Terry Forster was the pitcher, and there was a wild pitch, and the catcher ran over by the bat rack, which was right in the corner of the dugout, and got his chest protector strap caught on the bat, and he couldn't get out, and he finally got out and threw it to Terry Forster, who jumped in the air to catch it, and when he came down, he split his pants like from crotch to the belt in the back. And the runner's running all over the place, and it takes Charlie about 10 minutes to tell this story, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And he's got a lot of stories. You could ask him about playing with Harmon Killebrew or all those guys back when we were kids. Remember growing up, he had stories on everybody.
Yeah, and he goes over to Japan, and of course we had trouble understanding him here. I can only imagine what it was like in Tokyo.
And even there, he had great stories where a guy threw at him and hit him, and he chased the guy around the field, and the pitcher ran and hid behind his manager in the dugout. And then another time, Charlie hit home runs his first 2 times up, and the manager took him out because he told him, you can't do any better than that. So
statistically, you can't hit 3 in a row?
You're bound to make outs, so we're going to get you out of there.
You're not a 3,000 hitter.
There's an analytic viewpoint for you, probably.
No question about that. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing, and you can enjoy the excitement of harness racing Monday through Wednesday as well as Saturday evenings. 6 p.m. is the post time, open early every day for simulcast action from around the world, the top thoroughbred and harness tracks. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Jim Ingraham and I return one more time. More sports and less Levine seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of March and get up to 50% off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw, WKYC.com will join us, and you see us live from 6 until 7. That, of course, Eastern time. We do it live, and then you can log on to us any time of the day on cleveland.com. Lee writes in today, Jim, you'll like this one, I think. Who would have thought our opening day lineups outfield would be better than the infield?
Yeah, it's
or it's a toss-up.
It's a close call. The photo finish.
Unbelievable. All right, so let's beg the question here. Does the great pitching of the Indians overcome or win the thing because of the poor competition in the division and the fact that somewhere when Hanley Ramirez and Carlos Gonzalez and some of those guys get ready to play, what's stronger, the pitching to put you in the position you want to be in or the hitting that won't?
Well, I think they're going to win the division, although I don't know if you saw this, but the Sports Illustrated's baseball preview issue, they predict the Indians won't even make the playoffs. They say Minnesota's going to win the division, and the Indians will not be the wild card, for whatever that's worth.
This is the time to be. If you don't have a good enough team to win the division is still bad. You should rack up enough wins to be the wild card team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the Twins did have a pretty nice offseason. They got Nelson Cruz as still a big time cleanup hitter.
Marwin Gonzalez.
Yeah, who we both like. I think the Indians are going to win the division. I mean, you can't not win the division when. I mean, this rotation is an historic starting rotation. I mean, as far as what they've done to this point and what they conceivably could do this year.
No team in recent memory has had 1 through 5 deep in the starting pitching that good?
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, I can't either.
You think about the Braves in the early 90s, they had 2 Hall of Famers and Steve Avery, who was really great. The Diamondbacks had Schilling and Johnson in their prime, but this is like 5 guys, one right after another, and they're all elite pitchers. Bieber's maybe not elite yet, but he's getting there. And then you've got 2 perennial top 5 MVP finishers. So even the rest of the lineup is not going to be that great, but you're going to have Santana, Ramirez, and Lindor, and that's 3 guys that should you'd be able to squeeze enough offense. That you're not going to need a lot of offense.
No, I just am worried about that particular injury that Lindor has. That you could get away with it if you're a third baseman, maybe shortstop. You got so much range to cover. That's going to be concerning all year long.
Yeah, that can be a nagging one. That's why they definitely don't want to rush him back. But assuming he comes back and stays healthy once he gets back, he should have another typical Lindor year, and hopefully Ramirez got that 2-month slump out of his system last year and has another good year.
Best 2 words: play ball, right?
Yeah, let's get it going.
Let's get it going. All right, the Indians going for their 4th consecutive division title, and that will start in Minnesota. That'll be on Thursday night, and then they'll come back home on Monday. 4 o'clock start for that, the Indians and the Chicago White Sox. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Jim Ingram. We'll have Bud Shaw with you tomorrow night. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.